Hello, hello, and welcome to the newest episode of Public Disservice. I'm your host, Levi. I hope you're good. I hope you had a good weekend, a good start of the week. And thank you for bearing with us. I did make a post on my Instagram to mention that because of a couple of things that are happening in my life. Well, basically, I've got some technical difficulties. I need to get a new MacBook. So now I'm working on my partners. I borrow my partners for whilst I record the show or whilst I edit and everything, and that's obviously based on when she's got the time to give me her Mac, and there has also been a very crazy busy period, not necessarily with comedy, but with studying with university. I was ill for a while. Then I've got a new day job that I'm doing some extra shifts at to basically make up the money to buy the Mac. And so yeah, it's been a bit crazy. I wasn't able to be as as good with posting regularly. I'm trying to get there, and it we're heading that way. We're going towards that. Now, this week's episode is been recorded sometime in November. I just came across Liam's content, while scrolling on Instagram. I loved it. And so I messaged him and I said, "Hey, do you wanna be a guest on the podcast?" I was excited, or I was curious. I was intrigued by his handle at first, sober Liam, and then the story that he had in his bio, which is 3.5 at the time, was 3.5 years sober. So it's closer to 4 years now, and yeah, I just want to talk about that. It's also been about 3 years for me, almost four. Oh my God, yeah, it's been three. Oh, it's been over 3 years. Yeah, it's almost 4 years for me as well, since I've been sober, and it was just great talking about it. And then it was great talking about what he's done since then with his time, with his life, and it sounds pretty cool. And I'm sure you're gonna love it. I loved it. I will stop talking now and just let you enjoy the episode. Bear in mind, once again, this is the first time I'm going to mention this um, in the intro, but you will hear it throughout our conversation. Liam was in Vietnam when we were recording this. The wasn't internet connection wasn't great. The call dropped a couple of times. We had to do it again, not again, but we had to start over, or to continue from where we left off. It's been tricky. Hence, this is one of the reasons why it's taken me a while to put it together and release it for you folks. So be mindful of that. And I guess that's it. Enjoy. I'll catch you at the other end. Talk soon. How's it going? So good to meet you virtually. How are you?
Thank you, Manon. I'm good. I'm good. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on.
It's my pleasure. I came across your content not that long ago, and
Yeah,
you've got a pretty cool. I think you live the optics of it show that you're living a pretty nice life, and you also got a
yeah,
very cool
yeah,
story to share. So yeah, that's why I'd love to talk to you, man.
yeah. Of course, yeah. I'm happy to share it. Yeah, my name's Liam, and I'm I'm 3.5 years clean. I was in active addiction for maybe 15 years of my life. So I know how it is to be really like trapped in the cycle of drugs and alcohol, and that really was my life for a long time. And I managed to through a lot of work, I managed to clean it all up and stop using, stop drinking. And since then, I've been really focused on traveling and just living life for what it is, and seeing as many countries as I can. I've got some crazy stories that I'll tell you along the way. And yeah, I started this Instagram to just to show people that might be stuck in that cycle that there is a way out, and there is a beautiful life out there without being being um being hooked, I guess.
You know, the first question based on that, which is something that I always like to ask because I also struggled with it a lot as well. When
Yeah.
I imagine, was this last attempt of you being sober your first as well, or have you tried to basically like, get sober in the past and relapsed? And if so,
Yeah.
how have you treated?
Yeah.
How did you kind of like accept it yourself and be nice with yourself and kind again to try again and to put in the work?
You know, for me, when I tried to do it in the beginning, it took a long time for me to actually recognize that I had a problem. I really seen it out to the end before I even tried to think about stopping. I just accepted it as nearly like a hobby, like a life choice, and all of the shortcomings I would have. I would lose jobs, I would crash cars, I would go to hospital. I kind of accepted it as a like an occupational hazard, like somebody that races motorbikes, he might fall sometimes. I said someone
Yeah.
that takes as much drugs as I do, shit's gonna go south. And then it was only when I realized that this is actually gonna kill me. This isn't a this won't this you don't have a lot left on this road if you continue at this same pace. And that's what promoted me to come into recovery. And yeah, I found it really hard. I found it really fucking hard in the beginning. It wasn't easy. When people said to me, if you I joined the program, and people in the program said to me, if you really apply yourself and you work hard at this, a day will come where you don't want to take drugs. And I said to him, my friend, you don't live in my head. That day will never come. I couldn't relate to not wanting to take drugs. But you asked about my relapses and how did I forgive myself and stuff. I guess it's just when you have when you build a short period of recovery, say 4 months, maybe 2 months, however long you build, it feels good, and you start seeing life through like a clearer scope. And then when you relapse and you lose that, the feeling of the shame, for me anyway, the shame I experienced, it's like you've taken steps back in life. And to anyone that does relapse a lot, my advice would be just to learn from it. Write down what happened before, what was your thinking, who were you with, were you on your own? And that's what I did. I just tried to learn from them, because relapse it doesn't it doesn't mean you're good or bad at recovery. It doesn't define your recovery. It just sometimes it's a part of people's recoveries, and it's a part of mine. And I've still managed to get a big chunk of recovery. So it doesn't mean you can't make it.
Okay, and I because I'm actually so looking forward to talk about like your like traveling experience and your again like your I would almost want to say like new life or the upgraded
Yeah, yeah,
but one of the things
yeah,
I also was going to I'm quite curious, um, were you like a for people around you, if you have spoken with anyone, was it clear that you were struggling with alcohol and drug addiction, or were you like a high functioning, almost like I think about it like a closeted sort of, alcohol, like the
yeah.
drunk and the drug addict, or yeah.
I understand, and I wish I could come here and say, yeah, I was the stealthy, I was the sneaky, but I wasn't. How it was, so I got clean when I was 32, and progressively, I probably started taking drugs when I was 14, and then progressively more and more throughout the years. And for a good chunk of that time, it was manageable. It was nearly every day, but it was just how it was. It was just how it was with me and my friends. There was a lot of parties, there was a lot of festivals, and it was just something that we did. And then I noticed that I would always go the extra mile than my friends. I would always go a bit further. I would always need a bit more. And then as life went on, when I came into my 30s, I was living in Amsterdam, and that's when I really noticed. I was like, bro, you're doing this on your own quite often. COVID was especially a tricky time for me. I spent a lot of time alone because isolating, you couldn't go out, the government and all stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was just getting high, watching like YouTube, like not no reason to be high, just because
Yeah.
yeah. So it really I really did go through the mincer in terms of how bad it got. Yeah.
What was it like when you? I guess even like now, what is it like when people who know you for a long time, like how did you obviously from your perspective, how does it feel to see Liam now? Compare, like, were they kind of like surprised?
Yeah.
Was it a lot of uh yeah, again, that's it basically. Like, what are they surprised, or like also like how do they treat you? Because I remember, for example, speaking with some other friends of mine who are in recovery. They had those or they still have sometimes those relationships where people almost like thread on like thin ice around them because they are scared of like even mentioning like booze or drugs or anything.
Yeah.
Whilst
Yeah.
it's pretty much like life goes on. Like you know that they still exist. That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
You're just learning to live without it. But yeah, what was it like for you to again to be around these people, like people
Yeah.
who know you for ages?
So for me, I went to rehab. That's when I started my last big chunk. I went to rehab, and when I came out of rehab, because going to rehab kind of like broadcasts it. It's not just, oh, I have a problem and I need to stop. You go to rehab, it's nearly like going to like prison for drugs or something.
Yeah,
And then when I came back, a lot of my friends were really taken back by that by what happened to me. So I noticed that a lot of them would they would wrap me in wool nearly, that sort of, they wouldn't talk
yeah,
to me on the same level about like their life or anything like that. They'd be scared that if they say cocaine, that I'd be like, did you say cocaine? And then like you would instantly want some. But it varied from person to person, I have another friend, and he was just the same, he would like smoke a bit of weed around me and he would just act exactly the same as if nothing has happened. And yeah, it really varied from person to person. But I do find it quite interesting what you're saying, because sometimes I'll go to like a dinner and people will be like pouring wine and somebody would ask me, "Oh yeah, are you comfortable with us all drinking around you?" And I would obviously just say yes, I'm comfortable with this. But mentally I'd be like, I don't want a glass of wine. If I was gonna go back, I would want
yeah.
way more than a glass of wine. So you're fine. But yeah, so it's a hard thing to articulate to somebody, the
Yeah,
how it
because again, like
is.
I can see, or like I understand, like the other person's logic. Someone who's like, oh, I'm trying to be, cautious, or like I'm trying to help out. Like
Yeah,
that's something I understand. But I always, again, I find it fascinating from the lens of because like I remember again, it is a similar thing where. Um, I would go to like a house party and everyone would like be drinking beer, and it's almost like they're trying to like hide the like when I enter, especially at the
yeah,
beginning, they'd like hide
yeah,
the bottle as if kind of like try to take the label
yeah,
away, and be like, oh, this is not
yeah,
beer. And I'm like,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's,
yeah. I
it's
know.
fine. I get it. I understand that it's from a good place, but it does feel it's
Yeah,
quite funny because it's almost like now when you see those like new parents like child proofing the house. That's pretty much
yeah,
how it
yeah,
feels at
yeah.
times.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Especially my own. When I first started, I had to really childproof my own house in that sense. I had to remove anything that resembled or reminded me of my using. I had to get rid of any drug paraphernalia, get rid of like any like beers or anything like that. And yeah, I did go to a lot of social situations like what you were just talking about with people drinking, but it never really made me want to participate, because when I went to those places and I seen people drinking or even taking drugs, but like a normal person would, just like drinking like
Mhm.
at a normal pace and doing like a little bit of cocaine every hour or something, I'd be like, wow, isn't that so responsible? The way that, isn't that like really
Yeah,
like, I can't, I'd never actually taken the time to watch somebody else do it. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, because I would always be the most drunk guy in the party. I would always be the most high guy,
yeah,
and it was sometimes I found it quite nice to be like, oh wow, it's actually it's not as, people don't get as fucked up as I do. People stay
yeah.
relatively okay on nights out. So it was a nice experience.
That also I find fascinating. I agree with you. Where it's kind of like, to see people who are almost like, when I see this, like, oh, drinking responsibly, and like, it sounds so bizarre to me, because to me it's kind of like, if you're not drinking until you get yourself under the table, then what's the point drinking? If you're not,
Yeah, honestly,
like, doing,
honestly,
again, you're not doing drugs until you're passing out, and then waking up the day or two later, and you're like, oh, where am I? Then what's the point of doing it?
yeah. Yeah, like I learned a lot about that when I was traveling, because when you travel, people have beers at any time of the day. So I'd be with a friend and he'd have like 2 pints of beer, but then we'd go to see elephants. And I'd be like, how can you have 2 pints of beer and then go to, like, if I started drinking, I'm not going to see elephants unless I can drink with the elephants. I'm not going to go see the elephants. I'm going to stay drinking. So yeah, it really shows the difference between a normie and like an alcoholic slash addict.
Perfect. Yes, we are. Yeah, so basically, I'm going to ask, because I think we that last one might have been lost.
Yeah, yeah, let's
But
go.
actually, what? I also find it very fascinating, because, again, for the bit of a backstory as well, you are recording from Vietnam.
Yes, from Vietnam, Hanoi.
I'm in UK.
Yeah,
There are some technical issues, which I think it's okay. It's, is the way it is.
yeah, it's fine.
But my question was that, again, you've traveled, or again, you were, at least you decided to leave to leave UK, or to, again, at least for a while. I'm not sure what the full story is, but you're living in the Netherlands. Then, yeah, I was like, what, or like, how come you decided that, what, as a result of, or like another consequence, I guess, of me going sober, I want to just spend my time traveling. How did you come to that? How, like, are you, again, like, were you a big traveler always? It's something that you've developed throughout the time. How did you come around to want to do that?
It's a great question, and I have traveled before I got sober, but it's completely different. I guess when I first started off, I didn't know where my new joy was going to be. Once I gained control of life and I knew that I wasn't going to use drugs or drink, and I felt safe and I could add other stuff onto my life, like hobbies and stuff, I wasn't sure what it was going to be. And then I went to Croatia on holiday and I met a friend. We started traveling around Europe, and I really enjoyed that. It was kind of like escapism nearly, it was nearly offering something similar
Mm.
to the drugs. It's like new, it's exciting, you look forward to tomorrow, every day different, new people, new food. And I really took a liking to that. So I've honestly, in the 3.5 years, I've moved to Australia, I've traveled Europe, I bought a camper van, I drove around Europe. I come to Asia. I've drove all the way up Vietnam on a motorbike. I've done China, Japan. I've seen so much in this small 3.5 years. And yeah, it really symbolizes how much, when I was on drugs, I thought I was living the best life there is to offer. When I was taking the drugs, I was like, this is as good as it gets. I had no interest to travel.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, my the things that I want in life are so far apart.
Okay, and then because actually that's so interesting. When you were like, oh, when I was on it, when I was doing, I was like partying hard, or I was like, oh, this is it, this is the life, and
Yeah.
now you get to experience it from a different lens. But then, we were talking about traveling through Europe in the camper van.
Hmm.
What what was it like? Because obviously and also like how far in Europe did you go? What was your the most, I guess, surprising place that you visited? And again, just to give you a bit of a heads up, the reason why I'm asking you this as well is because, for example, I come from Eastern Europe, huge drinking culture.
Yeah, yeah,
Like everything revives around having a drink.
yeah, I
It's
know.
breakfast, you drink. It's lunch, you drink.
Yeah,
So obviously that as well, I guess, would play. Not play, but like I'm curious how you found that, if you've been in Eastern Europe. But otherwise, if not, if you've just been in like any other countries, what was it like, and what was most surprising for you? And also, what did it feel like, almost, balancing the anxiety, if there was any, of like, oh, I'm newly sober, I'm trying to manage that whilst traveling,
yeah.
because I guess we arguably, or at least to me, would make sense that it's easier to stay in control. You would feel more comfortable to stay in control in the comfort of your own house, because like you're talking before, where you had to childproof your own home per se,
Yeah.
but now you're on the road.
So what I did was I bought a camper van in Brighton in the UK, and I drove it to the Netherlands, and I went to Belgium, Spain, France, Switzerland, Italy, and somewhere else I can't remember. I didn't make it all the way over to the east because the van that I was
Right.
driving, it started to fuck up. There started to be problems, and I had to pay a lot of money in Italy. I had to pay a lot of money to get the van in a good enough condition that it can drive back to the Netherlands, and I didn't want to risk it. My plan was to go to Albania, up through Romania, Poland, and do a whole big loop, but I
Got it.
couldn't risk it. Um, Probably the best experience for me, hands down, I think it was Switzerland. It's literally jaw-droppingly gorgeous. It's so nice. I really, it's almost as if there's a filter, like a fucking filter. Like the grass is just greener and everything's so beautiful. Also the Italian Dolomites, like North Italy, the Dolomites. That was real cool to see. So yeah, and there has been a couple of times where I would be faced with a situation and you'd get a bit anxious. But the thing is, when you've lived the life like I've lived in active addiction, like it brought me to like prison, it brought me to just really scary, uncomfortable situations, like near death experiences where like normal people wouldn't walk into. So when I'm driving along in my van feeling a bit nervous, I think, bro, you have been through so much worse than this, so you're gonna be okay. And it would reassure me massively. Um,
You know what? Actually, sorry, go on.
yeah, you touched on Eastern Europe, and I have the furthest east I've spent a lot of time in would be I spend a lot of time in Croatia because my friend is Croatian, and I've been to a wedding in Poland. My cousin married a Polish girl, and I have never drank so much vodka in my life than at this Polish wedding. So I do kind of know that, like in the East, you guys go hard on the booze.
But actually, one of the other things, because you're talking about how like your best experience was in the North Italy and Switzerland.
Mm,
However, I was curious, and again, you kind of like touched on the anxiety side, but then I'm curious about, and again, from past experience, anger was one of the reasons why I would also, start drinking or using
yeah,
the substances. But now, you were talking about your situation in Italy, where you were like the van that you had like such high hopes to
yeah,
travel
yeah,
all over Europe. Now it's fucked.
yeah,
So, how, okay, so now I know how you manage the anxiety and the scariness side of staying sober, but then how did you manage to like condone, if you, again, and then also if there were slip ups, please feel free to share. But then if not, how did you manage to to channel, even like your anger and all this sort of like, oh, things are not going to plan, I could easily, start drinking again. I could easily start, doing drugs again. I could kind of like go back to it. How did you manage to not
So
do
for
that?
me, it's very I have a very simple process that I do. If things aren't working out my way, like say the van breaks down or I lose my bank cards or my passport, and then I get a resentment and I want to drink, I just play the tape forward like 2 days, just 2 days. I said, okay, have a drink now, have 5 drinks now. Where will you be in 2 days? You'll have no van, your passport won't be back. Any situation that is bad now, you're just pouring petrol all over it and just lighting a match. It won't,
Yeah, fair
yeah.
enough.
And I just, the problems I have now, the problems that I would run into, like if I did lose my passport, if I did break my van, it's nothing compared to the bullshit I was dealing with before, and I would do anything not to have those problems again. So yeah, I when I think about drinking to solve a problem, I just think about tomorrow and the day after. What bullshit will come my way?
Fair enough. And then, now again, we were talking about you were in Italy, the van happened, you're driving back to Netherlands.
Yeah,
I mean, that must have been again like another level of anxiety because what if, things breaking away? But then what was like, again, like perhaps something surprising that happened through this, again, through your traveling, or because obviously you're talking about, Switzerland and North Italy
yeah,
being the most beautiful places you've been to.
yeah.
But yeah, what was something that perhaps surprised you when you went to any of those countries that you've been to?
What surprised me? Interesting question. You know what surprised me is I went to Liechtenstein just to check it out,
Yes.
and it's so much different to Europe in the sense that like it's really, like say Berlin or Amsterdam, that there's like
Yeah.
graffiti on the wall, people dress a bit alternative. It has that European
Yeah.
edge, that European edge of like not danger but mischief. But Liechtenstein was very
Yeah.
very well put together, and everybody was very straight laced, and there was no graffiti, there was no litter. It was like the Sims but a country, do you know? So that surprised me. And and because when I traveled Europe, I had been living in Australia the year before, and then coming to Europe and driving from just from the Netherlands to Belgium, and then all these little countries that are not so far apart, but the cultures and the food and the way people, the mannerisms of people can be so different. Like French people and German people, it's not that far away, like really, but they
Yeah.
they are, have way different mannerisms, and it really, I find it really interesting.
Okay, and obviously, like, what was it even like for you? I guess did you meet a lot of people who are also traveling? Uh, if yes, were you surprised? If not, were you surprised as well that you haven't met as many fellow traveling, I guess, into enthusiasts?
So when I was doing Europe, I didn't meet so many people because I was in a camper van, and then you would stay at these camper van, like holiday homes, I guess. And generally people that are doing
Mhm.
that stuff, they're normally older people, maybe in their 50s or 60s or even older. And I was usually the youngest dude in there. But when I traveled Asia, I was staying in hostels a lot more to meet people. And yeah, so I guess I did meet tons of people. Like when I done Asia, my Instagram following went up by maybe 300, and that was literally friends that I made. So yeah, I've met so many people along the way, and there's like WhatsApp groups that you can find, and you can join WhatsApp groups and reach out and ask who's going to be here. You have to, what's it called? It's a bit vulnerable. You have to be like, "Hi, my name's Liam. I'm from London, and I'd love to go, like hang out with some people that
Yeah.
I don't know." It's a little bit um awkward, I guess, but yeah, it's easy to make friends.
Oh, okay. So hang on a minute. Then, so when you traveled in the camper van, when you went to Europe, you went on your own,
No, so I was with my girlfriend. I was with my girlfriend in the camper van, just me and her, and
right?
we bought the camper van together for £5,000 in
Right.
London. Yeah, and then we shared the experience together. But even if I did do it on my own, I think when you're driving the camper van style traveling, you're not going to meet so many people. Whereas if you're in Southeast Asia backpacking, going from
Got it.
Thailand, you're going to meet so many people. You see the same people that you did in one country in another country. It's one big circuit that everybody does.
Okay, and then because you were talking about you having been in Australia for a year before you came back to Europe,
Yeah.
and now then afterwards, I imagine after you got back to Netherlands with the van, you went back to Australia,
I got back to Netherlands with the van, and I didn't. I actually stayed. My girlfriend went back to Australia because she is Australian. She went back, but I
right?
stayed in the Netherlands because, like I was saying earlier, I have some quite deep roots with friends in Australia.
Right,
Some of them are in they don't drink. So I have some friends that are
right.
doing the recovery thing. I have friends that are definitely not doing the recovery thing. But yeah, I have some good ties in Amsterdam, so I like to stay there, and I can stay there with friends and stuff. So I stayed for a while.
Right, okay, and then I mean, even when you first went to Australia,
Yeah.
was your plan that whilst you live in Australia, you're gonna travel through Asia, or is it something that kind of again it happened after you moved there?
It's funny you ask. It is funny you ask. I remember I landed in Australia, and then I stayed at my girlfriend's house for the first week. This was us first giving our relationship a good try. We met in Europe, and we like I said, we met in Croatia. I don't know if I mentioned it. We met in Croatia. We traveled around Europe a little bit, and then she went back to Australia. And then we said, I'm gonna come to Australia, and we'll see if this works, basically. So I landed, and I started working in Sydney in construction, and I worked for like 4 months. And I noticed a lot of people, because I lived in a hostel, I noticed a lot of people were talking about going to Asia. I'm going to Asia, I'm going to Bali, I'm going to Thailand. And I was like, shit, man, maybe I might go to Asia. And I still remember when I booked my ticket from Sydney to Bali, and it was like, say, 3 weeks away. I'm like, you're such an idiot. I was like, you're not gonna. It's like, I just thought, what are you gonna do on your own in Asia? You're gonna be lost. And it was a real learning curve. It was a real learning curve. When I first got there, it's like I had this expectation that I always had to be having fun. I always had to be making friends. I always had to be doing something all the time. And then now, as a more seasoned traveler, I don't set the expectation. I just do it. I just go to the experience. I go to the temple that I want to see, or I drive to the next town, and if it rains and I get wet, it rains. It doesn't mean I've done good or bad.
Right.
So it really, the first time round, yeah, it was a real learning curve for me. It was a real learning curve. But I'm so glad that I did it.
Okay, actually, you know what? Because you mentioned about this whole like becoming like a more like well seasoned traveler.
Yeah.
Is this something that you you kind of like did your research on, or like at least a lot of research on? Because even I think the camper van lifestyle, I know it's again it's something that you hear some people talking about, but obviously you have to learn a little bit, or like you kind of like you is it something that you again spent a lot of research doing, or is it
Nah.
something that you kind of like decided you're going to do it and then you kind of roll with it, and whatever happens you'll just adapt to that?
Yeah. Just like that. I did zero research. I just knew that other people have done it, and if somebody has done it,
Right.
then I can do it too. And that was all I needed to know. Sometimes I feel like you can do as much research as you want. You can research it for like days and days, but you can't predict the future, right? You don't know what is going to happen. So
Okay.
yeah. So for me, I know a lot of people, they feel more comfortable when they know exactly what they're walking into, but I don't mind walking in blind. So yeah, I didn't do much research
Fair.
before any of my travels.
Fair. And then what does it? I feel like, yeah. What does it feel like then? You know, even when you travel to a place and I don't know, say you you know that you're there for a limited amount of time. Do you feel like, oh, you gotta get as much in as possible, or are you pretty, you know, like laid back and you're? Because I think you kind of mentioned it about it when like you go to a place and it rains. I
Yeah.
guess it might be a similar analogy or like similar sort of thinking behind it, where like, you know what, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Is that how you look at it, or are you again quite like not flexible basically, and you're like, oh, I want to do this, I'm gonna do this?
So in the beginning, when I first started doing it, every say town or city or place I would arrive in, I would already have checked ChatGPT or Google, and I would have researched just like on
Right.
the day. I would just research, what do people do here? What is the five things people do here, so I can do the five best things, and then I can leave. And I used to always put myself through sometimes it would be like a museum, say for example, something that I know that I'm not going to enjoy, but everyone says you can't miss this experience, you can't not go to this, or you have to see this building, you have to do this. And after some time I realized I'm doing a lot of these things because people are telling me it's unmissable, but for me it's not unmissable. It's actually quite the opposite. I could miss this, and now I've learned myself. I've learned what I like and what I don't like, and that's the beauty of it. So when I go somewhere and someone says, "Hey, do you want to come check out like a monkey forest?" I will be like, "Yeah, I will go to
Yeah.
that. That sounds really nice. I will definitely go to that."
No way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay, this is no actually again another question that's basically just based on the fact that I'm a very um, if I could like live in my house for the rest of my life, I would probably
yeah,
learn to live. I would happily actually live with that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
now to actually hear, you know, someone who, again, who's like so nature enthusiastic, how did that? Were you always this sort of like, you know, hiking as a kid or as a young man, or is it something that you realize that you like more recently and then you'd be up for it? Because I feel like the whole like monkey for, I think I would be so anxious
yeah,
knowing
yeah.
that there are like basically like not people that I can talk to if something goes south. I don't know.
Oh, really? Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you a little bit about me to answer this question. So my childhood, I was raised in like a chaotic environment, say. My parents were both suffering from addiction, and it
Right.
caused a very chaotic environment for me to grow up in. And the only one thing that I could guarantee was change. Like things would always, nothing would be consistent. So just circling back to what you were saying, I feel like when I go somewhere and it's new every time, or if there's like monkeys today, but tomorrow there's elephants, and then I'm driving a motorbike through a jungle the next day, I find comfort in knowing that I don't know what's coming. I find some sense of comfort in that.
Uh,
If I can predict the future too far along, it's almost as if I don't enjoy it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay. Now you know we again we're talking about you. So your first, I guess, experience in Asia was in Bali,
yeah.
and then from there, did you go back to Australia or did you kind of like went further in to Asia?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked. So I told my girlfriend, I said, "Hey, I'm going to go to Bali for 2 weeks," and she knows my personality. I said to her, "I'm going to go for 2 weeks, probably." So I flew to Bali, and then I done Bali. I met two people that I know from Europe in Bali, and then I said to myself, "You know what? I'm going to go further. I'm going to go to Thailand." So I went to Thailand. I went to Singapore, and then I was gonna go to, I'm not sure. I was gonna go to one more place, Cambodia, I think, but I didn't. So yeah, I did go further. And the only reason I came home was because I had told my girlfriend I was going to be 2 weeks, and I was actually 2 months. So I was like, you better go home.
And then was that then you continue to travel with her?
Yeah, so yeah, since then we've traveled a few places together. That was before Europe. So yeah, me and her have been to maybe we've been dating for 3 years, and we've probably been to 20 countries together. So yeah, we've
Right.
seen a lot. We've seen a lot.
Now, obviously, we talked about like your experience in Europe, what you found like most interesting, and also
Mm.
what you found the nicest. What about what about Asia? Like, well, and again, like I feel like the same. I want to cover the pretty much the same questions. Where it's like, what did you find most interesting? How much did you expect, or like whether if you had any expectations, how much of say your expectations have been met? What was surprising to you? And then yeah, like what was like the nicest, and perhaps although because I hear a lot of people who talk about like nice places to
Mm.
go in Asia, but like I guess maybe the ones that were like the hidden gems, I guess, something that you were like, oh, I'm glad I found this because not many people were talking about it. If you've encountered those
No,
experiences.
I have. There's so many hidden gems. I think the favorite country I've been to in Southeast Asia is Vietnam. I love it. But you spoke about hidden gems, and I went to China, and this was before I went to Tokyo. I was in China, and Tokyo always has this people know Tokyo as being like, the most neon bright, futuristic city that you will ever experience.
Mhm.
That's the stereotype that Tokyo has. So I flew to China before Tokyo, and I went to a city called Chongqing, and I had a really low expectation because I hadn't heard a lot about it, but a friend of mine recommended it. She said, "Go there, it's going to be cool. It's like cyberpunk city." So I said, "Okay, cool, I'll check it out." And bro, it blew my mind. It was insane. Every building would light up. And I was in this city with millions of people, way bigger than London, and I'm literally the only white guy there. Like Chinese would come up to me, and they'd be like, "Yo, can I take a picture with you? Like, I really want to take a picture with you." Or a kid sat next to me on the train, and I looked at him and he looked at me. He was probably like 8, and he was like, "Oh my God." Like he ran back to his mother because he's probably not seen like a white guy before. So that was quite a surreal experience, considering I wasn't in some little village in the middle of in some jungle. I was in like a huge
Yeah,
functioning city that's really amazing, and there's no white guys. I found that a really interesting time for me. So yeah, that was cool.
okay. And what was it? Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and you asked about what differences I seen. Something I really noticed traveling Southeast Asia is I noticed how everyone sort of pulls together as a community more so than what I've seen in Europe. Say there's like a really bad flood, and everyone's house gets all fucked up, and all the motorbikes get flooded, and people don't rely on the council to come and fix it. They don't rely on the government to fix it. They all go out and they all contribute, and it's like they all build it back up again really quick. Where
Mhm.
in London, if there's like a flood on my road, or if a tree falls down, nobody is going to leave their house and start chopping the tree. And if somebody did, it's not like people would help that man, because I think because we pay higher taxes, we think, nah, we'll just let the government let the
Yeah,
government
we'll
fix
just
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
the council is going to come and do it.
yeah,
Council is
yeah,
going to come and do it.
exactly. So it's yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, well then, oh God, I was going to ask you about the food, like cuisine experiences, because like Vietnamese is, I'd say like top three my favorite type of food. I'd say it's like Italian,
Yeah.
Vietnamese, Mexican. I think those are the. What was it for you culinary wise? I guess actually, you know what? Let's go back to a little bit to Europe. What was culinary wise your favorite place? I guess also what was something maybe surprising as well. You know, something that you thought, oh, maybe you had I don't know, your perception of what food would be like or anything like that. You know, you'd be like,
Mm.
probably it's not for me, and then you actually went like, oh wow, this is really good.
Um, there's been a few things. I remember one time I was with a friend of mine in Amsterdam actually, and she bugged me for a traditional Dutch dinner. And I ordered this thing. It was a cheese meal. She says, yeah, it's a cheese meal. What you're ordering? And the guy brung it, and it was just this like iron pot with a fire below it, and it was just a huge pot of melted cheese. And he just gave me bread with butter, and then that's the meal, just like bread, butter, and like melted cheese. And I was eating it, and I was trying to like have this conversation with this girl just about life and how she's been. And 10 minutes into the meal, I was like, I can't finish this. This is like an insane amount of cheese. This is like so much, like so. Yeah, no, there was definitely some unique experiences. I think Italy was just as Italy would be. You know, the food was just banging, so good. The pizzas were great. I actually quite miss it. Just talking about it now, I'm actually getting quite hungry because where I've been in Asia all year,
Bless you.
yeah, you're not going to get an Italian style pizza, and if you do, it would be rare. It would be really rare. So yeah, I do enjoy Europe.
Okay, well,
Yeah, go ahead.
oh yeah, actually two questions. One was if you had any experience of something that you thought would be really good, and then you were like, actually that's mid, like average or below. And again, it's not in a way of like dissing the, but I'm just curious because, like, for example, I've had this sort of God, I can't remember where I went, and there was like this dry sausage, and everyone was like, "Oh, you got to try this dry sausage. It's like the best thing
Yeah,
you've ever
yeah,
had." And I
yeah,
had it, and I was like, "This is the worst."
yeah.
I think it might have been Germany, but I was like, "This is one of the worst things I've ever had."
Yeah,
With
so
all due respect, and I got all the love and appreciation uh, to the Germans and everything. But I was like, yeah, this is why do people go crazy about this?
yeah, yeah, bro. Like honestly, especially the area that I'm living in now is there's like temples close to my house, so people come to do this ritual thing where they buy gifts like oranges and cigarettes and beer, and they leave it in front of the temple for their ancestors to come down and consume the items, and then they go back up. But the funny thing is, the shopkeepers will resell the same items again tomorrow. But anyway, in this one specific little neighborhood, they sell these like it's like a pancake with three shrimps on the pancake, but every shop,
Right.
every restaurant sells them. It's like hundreds and hundreds. You'll see so many of them. So I said, "Oh well, I
Ah,
need to try one of these." And the shell was still on the shrimp. It was like really, you know, that the soft pancakey sort of texture, and then you're biting down into something that's hard and crunchy. I
yeah.
couldn't get on board with it at all. Yeah, so yeah, there has been a few
Wait, can you eat the shells?
yeah, like it appeared to me that the shell was still on it. I'm not really I'm not like
Right. Okay.
yeah, it was a unique one, but as well as that, there has been a lot of times where I would be driving on my motorbike, I'd be in the middle of nowhere, and you'd see a restaurant, and you just order what I would just say to her, "Can I have one meal? Like, just give me one meal because the menu is in another language. I can't be bothered to translate it." And then you would just
Yeah.
be given the most strange meal ever, and it's like the lottery. Sometimes you do good, sometimes it's not so good.
No. What was it? Oh, actually, you know what? What's it like? I guess to like go um, to just like ride on a motorbike for so long. because you were talking about how you had this whole experience. Like, have you done that whilst you were in England? Have you done it in Netherlands? Uh, yeah, what's it like to? Because obviously, like I know riding the bike from time to time, but to actually, you know, kind of like use it as your main transportation thing, it sounds wild.
No, it is. I couldn't actually I couldn't drive a bike not so long ago. I made a really risky decision. So in the north of Vietnam, they have this famous loop called the Hai Giang Loop, and it takes 3 days to complete it. And it's this really beautiful scenic loop where you go through the countryside, and it's just YouTube it afterwards. It's breathtaking, but you have to do it on a motorbike. And I wanted to do it, but I wanted to drive my own motorbike. So I just done a quick research on YouTube, like how to drive a motorbike. How like it can't be that hard, right? And I got there, and then the guy, this Vietnamese guy, was saying to me, he said, "Okay, cool. So you're familiar with motorbikes?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, yeah, of course I am." And he says, right, if you can complete this 3 day loop on this bike, you can drive on any road in the world. And then I was like, why do I put myself in these fucking situations that's way above my capabilities? And the first day was fucking dangerous. There was you driving along like a cliff edge, and if you would fall down one way, it's certain death. Yeah, 100% death.
No
Yeah,
way.
yeah. So it was but then after the first day you learn, and the second day you learn a bit more. So yeah, now I feel completely confident on the bike. I drove from the south of Vietnam all the way to the north. It took maybe 6 weeks because we stopped a lot, and no
Wow.
accidents, no dramas. There was yeah, I feel really confident on the bikes now. So yeah, it's good.
Ah, you know what? Actually, because I just saw something. I saw a meme, or not a meme. It was actually like a, but again, it was meant to be like a funny or like yeah, funny post on social media about the most stressful countries to drive in.
Mm.
So I was actually curious from your experience, even like I guess in Europe, and then compared to Asia. Have you had any situations where like how do people like drive through this for like as a daily occurrence?
It's chaos. There is no real rules. There's sort of guidelines, but there's no real rules. Like you could be driving and then somebody will pull up next to you on a motorbike, but there'll be five men on this one motorbike, and that's completely normal. Even builders, and they're all wearing their construction hat as their helmet, and they're just going to work.
Yeah.
Five builders on the same motorbike, and so to compare it to Europe, it's really lawless. And the funny thing is, because I've learned how to drive a motorbike in Vietnam, all I really know is the Vietnamese style of driving. And when I go back to, say, Australia or a Western country and I drive, I'll have to really it will be like a culture shock, because over here you just expect the unexpected. That is like the best way to look at it.
No way.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
Wow. I mean, obviously, because you're talking about that first day on the edge, like
Mm.
of a cliff and stuff like that. I think at some point I would have just like walked next to the bike or something. Yeah. I think if I would be put in that position. So, when you and also were you with your girlfriend? And also were you on the same bike or were you on two different
So
bikes?
when I done the dangerous loop, I was solo. I was
Yeah.
on my own. She hadn't My
Right.
girlfriend wasn't in Vietnam at the time. And then I went all the way to the south of Vietnam, and she met me there. And then we bought the bike together.
Right.
And it wasn't her idea to buy the bike, it was my idea. I said, "Hey, let's buy this bike." And because you asked previously about planning and do I plan my stuff? I don't plan nothing, but she's the planner.
Right.
She doesn't like not knowing what's ahead. So I said we're going to buy the bike, and then she said, "No, Liam, like think about what happened with that fucking camper van, and it broke down in Italy, and we had all these problems." And I said, "No,
Yeah.
it's not going to be like that. It's going to be okay." So yeah, it. it was she learned to trust me, because there was a few times where there would be literally like chickens and dogs and buses and bikes all on the road at the same time. It's so chaotic. You couldn't imagine.
I guess, like, what's it like, if you've noticed anything from your perception, based on like when people see you on the said bike, or like when basically like locals see you on the same bike. And the reason why I'm asking is because I think of this time when because basically like, yeah, me and my dad used to drive even through parts of Romania
Mm.
with different, because in Romania you can tell which county your car is from based on the number plates,
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
would have
yeah.
the name of the county at the beginning,
The
right?
RO.
So then obviously like exactly, but then no, but next to the RO you'd have like BT, which means Botoshan, which is like a county, and then, or you'd have
Oh,
SV, which means Suceava, or you'd have like B, which is Bucharest.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So then, say like if you're from northeast and you're traveling, because that actually happened to me and my dad. My mom was in hospital in Transylvania,
mm,
and we drove to go and like pick her up, basically. Um, and then we went on this road that was actually only meant to be for. It was like one of those like lines that was only meant to be for police and like emergency
yeah,
services.
yeah,
And I remember my dad just driving through that road,
yeah.
and we had the windows down, and I could hear actually someone go like, "Oh, those fucking guys, they're from so and so. They don't know what they're
Yeah,
doing."
yeah,
And so that's why I was like, I found it funny. And then I remember having drove with like Romanian plates in Ukraine, for example, and the way like Ukrainian people would go like, like almost like shake their head sometimes if we did something wrong, or sometimes just actually like, stare at us. And because I remember the
yeah,
Euro 2012, we went quite like further into Ukraine, which wasn't near the Romanian border. So actually, loads of people you could see from the other cars just kind of like staring at us.
yeah, yeah,
Have
yeah,
you noticed something like that? And if you
yeah,
did, what
yeah.
was it like?
So in Asia, you more notice it not because of the number plate, but because we're white. Being white, you
Yeah,
notice it because of that. I wouldn't say that the locals give you any problems, but you mentioned the police earlier, and over here, if you do anything wrong in front of the police, if you have no helmet, or if you drive on the wrong road, they will just hit you up for money straight away. Just money, money, money. It's always the same thing. Yeah, it's like Tom and Jerry, when like they start picturing each other, and like he when he looks at me,
yeah.
he just sees dollar signs. So you do get a lot of that, of course. When I was doing Europe in the van, it had an English registration, but the only compliments I would get from people is because the van was so broken looking. It was like a really old. The van was actually from 1991. It was 1 year younger than me, and people would be like, "Whoa,
Uh,
you've made it really far in this fucking van." They would be like impressed that I've drove all the way from the UK in
yeah.
this van. So yeah, I never got any shade from anybody. Nobody gave me no shit, so it was okay.
Oh no, because actually that's the thing. I wasn't mentioning even in like a bad way. I was genuinely just curious if you had like any reactions. Because that's why even like for me and my dad, I love that memory. I thought it was fucking hilarious to just
Yeah,
like hear these guys who had like such a distinctive like Western Romania, like Transylvanian accent, going like fucking northeastern
yeah, yeah, yeah,
guys, not knowing the rules, but they also like they were chuckling and they were laughing as well.
yeah,
They're like, "This is hilarious." And I think you mentioned the thing with like the money thing. I remember me and my dad like that's a common thing. Like we are driving to Ukraine through Ukraine, for example.
yeah,
You'd get stopped by the car by the police. Sorry, you'd get stopped by the police even even if, like without doing anything wrong, and you just have to like kind of like give them a fiver or something,
Yeah, it's just
you know, or
yeah,
the equivalent of a fiver in the local currency. It's just the way it is,
yeah. It's literally
and
it's
you're kind of like, yeah, fair enough.
after some time, you kind of you learn the game of the bribe. It's like the bribing game. You know
Yeah,
that they want a certain amount. So what I do now is I have my money, like my chunk of money, say, and I have that in a compartment in my wallet, like in my bag, sorry. And in my wallet, I will have like a couple of notes, but not much. So when the police would pull me over, I would be like, bro, this is what I have. This is everything I
it
have.
is. Yeah,
Because if you show him everything you have, he's not going to be fair with you. He's gonna take as much as he can get, right? Because it's the
yeah.
bribe game. So you have to be a little
You
bit
know what?
clever.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you have to be a little bit clever.
That's what we used to do as well.
Yeah,
That's what we used to do as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
With my dad would have like two different wallets, and then one would be in the glove compartment,
yeah.
and then the other
Exactly.
one my dad would like have in his pocket. And then if the police would stop him or like would stop us, you know, he would like pull his wallet out and kind of like. But I remember once, because again, like with the local police on the board near the border with Romania, we became super friendly and we like knew each other.
Yeah,
So like
sure.
at times basically they would just like stop my dad, say hello,
Yeah.
my dad would just like hand them like again like a couple of quid,
Mm,
and then off you go.
yeah.
But I remember once they tried to, they didn't know my mom that well, so they thought my mom was like someone new, someone different.
Mm, mm.
And they, you know, they used to have, because in Romania we didn't have those like guns. The I'm not talking about like guns. I'm talking about the ones for the speed,
Yeah, yeah.
the
Speed
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 guns.
guns. Yeah,
You know, we didn't have those in Romania, right?
yeah,
So my first encounter with them was in Ukraine, and I remember like my mom, who I swear I've never seen her drive over 20 miles an hour,
oh
like
really?
in my entire life.
Yeah,
And then I'll speak in kilometers for this bit, because basically I've never seen her drive over 50 kilometers an hour.
yeah, yeah,
And
sure.
then this police officer stops us, and then he points the gun, like shows my mom the gun, and he goes like 65 kilometers.
Yeah,
And I remember just like chuckling and going like, this is like, my mom's gonna go ape shit, just because like she's never in her entire life drove, and she was quite proud about it. She was like, I never drive above 50 kilometers
yeah,
ever.
yeah, yeah.
This guy was like, "Oh, lady, you know, you're driving 65," and I was like, "I never drove 60." And I remember almost them like having an argument, and my mom wasn't even about like not paying. My mom was just like, "Don't say I drove at 65 kilometers an hour.
Yeah,
I can't accept that."
yeah, yeah.
And the guy was like, "Oh, so okay, okay, excuse me, sorry, sorry." And yeah, my mom, we ended up again like paying, like it's called the tradition.
Oh, the
I don't
little.
know if you heard if it's the same in Asia, but in here it's a tradition. You pay the tradition.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's what they
Yeah,
call
I
it.
understand, but I didn't know it was called that. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That was, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, you just reminded me of a story where I was in Croatia, and this was during COVID. I flew from
Don't worry, but yeah, we got disconnected again. But you were saying that
yeah,
I reminded you of.
yeah. So you reminded me of this story just with the police in Europe. And anyway, I flew from Amsterdam to Croatia, and I landed in Croatia, and this was during COVID, and they asked me to do a PCR. I had done a PCR test before I boarded my flight, but then when I landed, they said to me, you have to do another PCR test within Croatia and have it with you because you need a Croatian one, right? So I landed and I said to the guy, "Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to do a Croatian PCR test." And I didn't. I went and met my friends, and then my friend says to me after a few days, he was like, "Yo, let's go to Bosnia on the bus. We'll take the bus to Bosnia." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fucking down. I've never been to Bosnia before." So we're on this bus and we come to the border of Croatia, Bosnia, and then they asked me to get off the bus, and then he scans my passport, and then he says to me, "Where's your Croatian PCR test?" And I was like, "Oh fuck, I didn't do it." And then his friends came here, and they had guns and shit. They were like, They were like, "Are you?" They were saying to me, "Are you fucking crazy?" And I was like, "Are you fucking crazy? Like, you guys have guns and all. Like, I have a PCR from the Netherlands. I just don't have the
Yeah.
Croatian one." And bro, I tried to say to them, "Okay, I won't come to Bosnia. I won't go into Bosnia. Can I just give you like 20 euros or 30 euros?" Bro, they charged me 600 euros just for that. It was
Holy
a
shit.
yeah, and then
And
I specifically remember saying to the guys, I said to the guys, I said, "You're acting a bit crazy with the guns. You're acting kind of
yeah.
crazy." And then they said to me, "You're acting crazy," and they're like having these guns, and I was like, "Whoa, like this is COVID is getting crazy."
And were you, but so you paid the £600 without even having gone into Bosnia? Like you haven't actually managed to get in?
I didn't even get in. I got to the border, and then yeah, they didn't let me in, and they still charged me 600. But it was
Oh
official
my
because
God.
it wasn't like under the table bribe. It was a paid
Yeah,
with
yeah,
it was
yeah,
a
yeah,
real
yeah.
it was a real
Like a fine thing. Yeah.
yeah, it was the real price, the government price. But I thought it was a little bit
No
expensive.
way.
Yeah, I
I
thought it was
mean, it's quite. I mean, obviously, again, I think in their head, in their head, having like whatever a couple of guys with guns is not cheap either. So they probably be like, you got to pay up for that. But
yeah, yeah,
oh
yeah.
my god, it's quite funny though because it's kind of like I don't know, being treated like patient zero. They're like, oh, this guy is gonna be the first COVID case in Bosnia now because he doesn't have
Yeah,
a
yeah, I
Croatian
know.
PCR.
I know,
This
I
is
know.
wild, man. But you know what? Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead. No, no, no,
I was
go
going to
go
say it's
on.
quite funny because I remember of hearing stories in like for example, it was one of my favorite like COVID stories, right? In
Yeah.
Romania, they had those like curfews. So after 10 o'clock after 10 o'clock in the evening,
Mm,
you were not allowed to be on the streets
yeah.
unless unless you had a piece of paper which was a declaration. So you had to write a declaration as you were leaving home
Yeah.
that you would have to sign yourself
Mm,
and basically say the reason why you're out of the house.
yeah.
Which
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought is like the funniest bit of bureaucracy ever because it's not like even someone else has to give you it's like a sick note or something where you ask the doctor to give you it.
Yeah, 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 of
These
course.
guys were just like, oh, you gotta write. So you had to like write a piece of paper going like, me, Liam, I declare that I'm going to buy eggs, and that's why I'm gonna be out late.
It's like a self-written
And
permission slip.
yeah, 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 yeah. And then I remember the police would like stop you, and they'd be like, "Oh, where is your declaration?" And then you have to be like, "Oh, here's my declaration." And then I remember because unfortunately I had to be in Romania because that's around the time when I met when my sadly my mom I lost my mom, so
Sorry to hear.
I stayed home for a while. It's okay. I stayed home for a while, and then Easter was happening in Romania, right? And
Yeah.
then on Easter they were like, "Okay, for 3 days." We're gonna lift all these restrictions, and I loved it again because I was like, oh, it makes sense because COVID will also
Mm,
like will stop spreading after before we'll
yeah.
stop spreading after 10 p.m. because it's Easter. It has
Yeah,
principles and the
yeah,
morality of
yeah. Of
respecting
course.
a major holiday.
Yeah, of course,
And
of
I just
course.
loved it, man. And I feel like now when you told me about this thing with the guns, I'm just like, this is it's funny because again I feel like from their perspective it made sense because they
Yeah,
were
of
like, oh, we got to
course.
stop COVID by any
Yeah.
means necessary, and then he's a
Yeah.
guy who doesn't have a PCR test from Croatia. Although having said that, I don't know if you what it was like for you actually with the PCR tests, but in UK I was able to do it myself and then post it and get the result. Whilst when I went to Romania,
Oh, yeah.
they I had a nurse do it for me.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, Liam, I've never cried. Like again, bear in mind, my mom died only like 3 weeks before that. I had this nurse put that cotton bud up my nose,
Yeah, yeah.
and I haven't cried that much at my mother's own funeral as I cried when
Yeah.
this. I don't know. the level that she reached in
Yeah,
within my head with
yeah,
that cotton bud.
yeah.
But I remember after she pulled it out, I had to run away from the room, and I had to excuse myself, go to the bathroom, and I was just sobbing for a few minutes because I couldn't control myself because again of whatever she friggin' touched.
Really? Wow.
And
Yeah,
yeah, it was the same with the throat as well because like she put it like up my throat, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna gag now. And
yeah. It's
then when she
horrible.
put it up my nose, she went so high up that I swear I've never cried like that
Nah,
ever.
some of them were really, really violent the way they did it. I remember during the same holiday that I was telling you about, we were in Croatia in our, I forget the name of this one, I think Dubrovnik, and we were going on a night out, and I was sober at the time, but my friends were drunk and they were doing cocaine. And we arrived at this nightclub, but they said if you want to come into the nightclub, we have to just do a quick COVID swab. And then I done my one, and then my friend was doing his, but he was really drunk. And they said to him, "Okay, lift up your head now." And he lifted it up, and his nostrils were just like all white, like super white from all the cocaine. And then the woman that was doing it was like, "This is, this is so fucked up." And then I said to the woman, "Oh, he's going to test positive for COVID."
But actually, I don't know if you've seen there was a meme circulating at the time where there was this guy going like, COVID negative, and he was like HIV positive, cocaine positive, like all
Yeah,
the drugs
literally.
ever and all like the diseases positive. But then he was just the COVID one, and he was like, safe for travel.
Yeah, yeah, literally, yeah. The one that matters, I'm okay.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But look, because I know we're approaching or I think we kind of like we went over the hour
Yeah,
fully. So look, man, I appreciate you for taking the time to do this. I'll ask you two more questions. That's okay.
sure.
Um, the first one, well, actually, sorry, three questions. Sorry.
Okay.
First question is, what's your plan next? Obviously, you're in Vietnam now. Have you
So
planned already what you're gonna do or not?
yes. So I've been just currently what I'm doing. I've been training super hard in the gym. The last few months I've put on 20 kilos in maybe 4 months, and I'm going to continue doing that, just gymming really hard until December 8th, and then I fly to Australia where I'm going to try to I'm going to get work, and I want to build a life. I want to build a company, and I want to like start my empire. Start something real.
Hmm.
So that's my next plan.
Okay. Now, the other question was the one that I wanted to add was that
Yeah.
obviously we talked about how you've managed to again you almost like used or it was quite helpful for you to go. You know what? One of the reasons to stay sober is because I want to travel. I want to visit all these places. I want to enjoy all these things.
Yeah.
How do you, or have you ever thought about the fact that like what if, say, again at some point you will have finished traveling, you'll have traveled to all the countries, or you've done all these like things on your bucket list.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like anxious about, oh, like what would be my next sort of big reason to keep up like living this sort of like like sober life? Do you ever worry about that? And if you do worry, how do you manage to balance or like to move away from that?
So I do fear commitment. I fear having a routine that is repetitive. I I fear working, a job where I feel like it's the same. That is a fear of mine, and I have thought about my life in the future, and that this could be something that comes into play, and how will I deal with it? And to be honest with you, I don't know until I know. But with the recovery, something that keeps me from not drinking and not using, asides from me already knowing that I have a major problem with drugs and alcohol, aside from that,
Mm,
I have a gift where through what I have experienced and the tools and the methods I have learned to not drink and not take drugs, as someone that was a daily user, I can help other people. I can help other people who are struggling to start their recovery and to maintain their recovery, and that in itself is something that I really value. And even through my Instagram that I've started, people have reached out, I've given them advice, and I'm already helping people. So if I can, if through me having a shitty disease that fucked up my life, if through that I'm blessed with being able to help other people, I'm gonna not drink, and I'm gonna try and help people.
Wow, man. Fair enough. That sounds beautiful.
Hmm.
And well, again, you mentioned it earlier, but I want to do like an official part of it, like like plugging where like people find you and your content and everything. So, what's the name of what's your social media handle? Where are you most active? Where can people who have listened to us and enjoyed this, who again I haven't seen your stuff before or haven't like again like I haven't come across your content before, where do people find you most? Where are you most active?
Instagram. Find me on Instagram, Sober Liam. That's where you'll find all my crazy journey experiences, my travel, and my life as a recovering drug addict who is now living his best life. That's where you'll see my best stuff. And also that's where you can reach out to me for anything you really want to do with recovery. I can shed light.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you, and I feel like what you're doing is wonderful, and it was such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Although
Thank
we
you.
again, I think we've had a little bit of like we had a phone call a few days ago, and now this is the second time technically we spoke. I
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that that it feels like it was such a just an amazing conversation. So I wish you all the best,
Yeah, thank you
and
for
look after
having
yourself,
me.
man. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Levi. Honestly, I've seen a lot of your content online. When you reached out to me, I was really excited to come onto your podcast. So I'm really grateful to be to have been here today, and I think it's brilliant what you're doing. So yeah, congratulations,
Thank you, man.
bro. And yeah,
Will we're trying we're trying our best. I'm trying my best, and
yeah,
it looks like so are you, and I'm so looking forward to to stay in touch and see where this where everything goes. And I wish you all the best with the move or like the starting of the new chapter back in Australia. But I also
yeah,
think that first of all, enjoy this like last couple of weeks now until then of
yeah.
perhaps like holiday, and make the most of it. You deserve it. You deserve it, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. When I'm back in London, I'm gonna give you a message. Maybe we'll grab some food.
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that because I'd love to have you around, and then we can do a part two as well. We
For
can
sure, for
we
sure.
can talk about that too.
Yeah,
Look after
amazing.
yourself, man. All the
Okay,
best. Bye bye.
okay. Enjoy your day. Bye bye.
So, you see, it was a challenging time hoping that a connection won't drop, which has happened 3 times during our conversation. But I'm sure you can agree with me now that you've listened to it that it was worth the ride. I think I mean, I've enjoyed putting this together and re-listening to my conversation with Liam. I remember in the moment, although I was quite excited. I was quite worried, that the internet might cut off at any time. It was just so wonderful to to speak with him because you can see he's got like such an amazing story to share. And yeah, thank you. I want to say thank you to Liam for doing this. Thank you everyone um, for listening. And there are some updates to come from me, but I'm all over the place for now. If you want to see when I'm gigging again, check out my socials. My website is going to be taken down. That's a decision I've made, and we'll talk more about that in the future. It's just the fact that I don't feel like I need it. And any other updates? You got Sober Liam. So Liam's social media in the description of the podcast episode as well. Make sure you check out his content; is worth checking out. I love it. And you also got my socials there. And that's it. From me, Pickle and Sarma. Until next week, stay skillful. Goodbye.